Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's resume our complete beginner's guide to Elden Ring. Now, I've been picking up a lot of fruit, but you see this skull right here that's on the ground. I can hit it with my sword. Well, kind of. Let me see. Sometimes you can hit it. What about a jumping attack? Can you break? Skull? Yes. Sometimes it's hard to hit those things. That skull had nothing. It was a shame. I wasted several futile attacks missing a skull to show you nothing. Uh-oh. There's mounted guy. Stay away from us. But lo and behold, other times you'll find skulls that have things inside. Now this is actually just something that's lit up, and it's a ruin fragment, okay? And remember, if I push start to go to the options screen, and I go to my inventory, you will see that the first tab that we go to is the recent items. Everything that we haven't yet examined is here. And you can see with the ruin fragment, it just says it's used for crafting items. But the key to understanding the lore and the full function of your items is to press square when you're looking at something. If you press square when you have an item, you will go from this display, which gives you statistical information, to a picture and some flavor text about it that can reveal incredibly important information about how to play the game or where to go. So don't forget to always push square to look at this item two ways. You could see things here about Roa fruit, for example. I'm just going to close this up. And there's more ruin fragments. And, well, I guess it makes sense because they're just on top of this ruin right here. Here's another, looks like a animal skull. And what I'm going to do is go toward the church. If I look up, you will see the place where I just came out of, Vare over there on the cliff, and the guidance, if I push the center button, is pointing me right up here at the church, and this is me on the map. So I'm going to kind of just make sure that the knight is over there and not messing with us, which he is not. And I'm going to pick up that fruit and go into the church. Now, the skull that I showed you had nothing, but if you ever see a skull on the ground that is glowing, that is the one you want to break open because it has a fun item for you. There is, well, a apparently hung out to dry individual that has left us 2 golden runes. So this is a very brutal, harsh, macabre game, and that crucified individual is definitely an example of that. And here we are in the Church of Ella. And we come in here and we can find ourselves another site of grace. Let's get it. Let's touch it. Boom. And it's now explaining to us that we can fast travel to sites of grace. So through our map, as we talked about before, we can go to any site of grace as long as the fast travel is available. So now the guidance has shifted. If I go to the map, you see the guidance led me this way, and then it kind of goes from here over in this direction. And look at this. There's a little bit more on the map as I've gone to the site of grace. Perhaps maybe me moving over this way, or maybe the site of grace has kind of pushed back some of the fog. But you see these roads winding through, and yet if you zoom in on the map as much as possible, like we are now, and you look right here where I've got the crosshairs where I'm kind of circling, you'll see that there is a little kind of monolith. It almost looks like a tiny little lighthouse. It's just a pillar that's in the ground, and this is a map stele. A map stele, if we go to this and interact with it, will unlock the map for the region around it. So even though we don't have the map uncovered, certain icons like the roads or the steles are available if you know what to look for. So you're going to get better at interpreting this kind of cryptic map, and this is the first thing that I wanted to show you. I'm going to close this and show you that, yep, there's the grace pointing that way. But also inside this church, we find a campfire with this strange individual with a musical instrument who is kind of dressed like Santa Claus. And let's talk to him.
You're a tarnished. I can see it. And I can also see that you're not after my throat. Then why not purchase a little something? I am Kale, purveyor of fine goods.
All right, so we found Kale, the merchant. Merchants, you will find all over the game map. They have these kind of awesome pack animals with them, and usually have, traditional garb and a musical instrument, but they come in all shapes and sizes, perhaps. And what you want to do is, of course, check out their wares, but because this is an NPC, we want to talk to them and exhaust all their dialogue options to get information about the game. So let's ask him about himself.
I am of a nomadic people, selling wares as I travel. The land has been tainted by madness since the shattering of the Elden Ring. It's only tarnished like yourself, who keep things from drying up entirely. Let's say you're a very welcome customer.
He's like, I'd go out of business if it weren't for you. Fair enough. Now, you can buy stuff from him, you can sell stuff, but you can also ask for his recommendation on what we should purchase. So let's do that.
You know, if you can spare the runes, you should buy yourself a crafting kit. A crafting kit allows you to make basic items on your own. Essential, really, if you intend to survive out here for any duration. The kit costs a bundle, and I admit I do take my cut. But the important thing is that you survive. Every customer counts, after all.
So he's given us really good advice, which is to buy a crafting kit, and we definitely will do that. So I'm going to go to purchase, and it says with the shop menu, you can spend runes to purchase various items. You can also sell items for runes. And this is critical. Each merchant stocks a different variety of items for purchase. So there might be some overlap, but in general, the merchants have unique items that they sell, so you want to visit and try to buy everything that looks one of a kind that you're interested in from every single merchant that you find. It will help you out so much. Now, here are some things that are noteworthy. Over here at the right is the crafting kit. It's 300 runes. We have 600 runes, so I will buy this right away. And you can see it went from, he had 1 in the bottom right corner to now he has 0. There's only one of these that you can buy. He's selling cracked pots, which we can use to create consumable items that we can throw, like bombs and things. And you keep your cracked pots. So you just have to refill them with ingredients to make more bombs. So the more capacity of, cracked pot bombs you want, the more cracked pots you need overall. And he also sells a telescope, which is not required, but cool to just kind of survey the land. And the things that you want to purchase from this dude are all of these cookbooks, every single time, and these notes. It might not look important, and these are not required, these notes. You can find this stuff on your own, but they will help guide you so much. For example, this note is about the Flask of Wondrous Physic. This flask is another healing item that you can get, that we want to get very soon to help our survivability. And buying this note will help lead us in that direction. Now, if you push square, like we talked about, you will see more information about the note. And it will tell you, kind of give you a better sense of what this does for you. But this is most important on the cookbooks, because if you go to the cookbooks, it actually will tell you what recipes you unlock with each cookbook. So this one gives you bone arrows and bone bolts. This one gives you glowstones and invigorating meats. This one gives you holy water pots and roped holy water pots, for example. There is equipment right here that you could purchase if you wanted, and you could see if this is something, this chain coif that you wanted to get to make yourself stronger. But right now, we don't really need to buy chain armor. It's not a priority. First of all, it's expensive, Second of all, the armor that we start with is just plenty for right now, and we can find armor from some of the enemies around here that's not bad. What I would pay attention to buy is a torch. I'm actually going to buy this right now. This helps us light up dark areas. It's just super useful. Many players prefer a lantern because you can equip it to your belt, and that is awesome. But we don't have one right now, and the torch is just brighter so that you can... I like to just really be able to see sometimes. If you're using a torch, you can't use your shield or your sword. You know, you have to equip it in one of your hands. But when you're exploring, I think it's totally worth it. And we want to buy all these notes and cookbooks. Now, they look like they're expensive. I spent 500 runes just now. That seems like a lot, considering I only had 600. But just being honest with you, these prices are insanely low. 1,000 runes is going to be nothing very soon for us. It looks like a lot now, but once we get further into the game, this will be paltry. So, one thing that you can do, and the very first thing that I did when I was playing Elden Ring, was I just kind of farmed enemies around the area to try to get drops and buy all of the items from this merchant that I could. This is an old school RPG technique. If I was mentioning like Dragon Warrior in the previous episodes, back to that. It's like you can't go to the next town in Final Fantasy or Dragon Warrior until you really have all of the equipment from the previous town, or it's going to be much more difficult for you. So what we want to do is just gear ourselves up before we go out. Now, you don't have to. If you're really good, certainly. Skip this. Do what you want. But as a new player, I think these items are good. Now, you don't need to buy all of them. I'm probably not going to buy the equipment, for example, and I don't really need to buy bolts and arrows because I don't have a means to fire them right now. But these are things that we could consider. And if I decide, do I want to sell? I push circle to go back, and I could try to sell stuff, but I don't really have anything of mine that I want to sell right now, unless I want to sell my golden rune. So, this golden rune that I picked up underneath that kind of person on a stick outside, you could see it says golden rune, and it has square brackets with a number 2 inside. I'm looking in the central middle column. I can use this to gain 400 runes for myself. I could sell it right here and spend those runes, and that's certainly something that you could do, but I generally save runes that are in my inventory for when I want to level up, and I do not have enough, and I can use these to get myself over the hump, because we haven't talked about this yet, but the other key element of a Souls-like is that if you die, you lose all of the runes that you're carrying, and then on the world, your death mark will appear, and you can go back to the spot or near the spot where you died, pick up your runes, and you don't lose anything. But if you die before you can get back to your runes are lost forever. So because of that mechanic, these items are key to have and keep, because even if you die, it's still in your inventory waiting for you. So this is a reason that I don't just willy-nilly spend these, but if you want to, go for it. Again, 400 runes really isn't that much in the grand scheme of things.
I'm glad you took my warning to heart. You've made an excellent choice.
You're darn right we did. So now we've unlocked item crafting, and we can make various items, and we'll show you how to do that. They're explaining containers that we need cracked pots to craft items, like you see in the picture, a bomb to throw. And they will not run out with use. Like what was inside the item to make it explode runs out, but you get the cracked pot. So the more of them you have, the more you can make to use, which is great. And I'm going to just push start and go to item crafting. This is a new thing that has appeared. And you can see here that this allows us to make various materials. And what's cool about item crafting in this game is, number one, you don't have to do it at all. You can beat this game without crafting anything. Unless it's required by a quest, but even then I think pretty much you can beat this game without crafting. However, it will make your life much easier to craft things. There's really, really good stuff that you can make to cure certain status ailments, to give your character a buff and such. So crafting is good, but it's not necessary. Now right now these are the only recipes I have, and actually the only thing I can make is a rainbow stone. that I can use to kind of mark my path if I want to. I never really make these, but you could if you wanted. And I can use this to feed the food to Torrent, the mount, which we have not yet unlocked, to restore its hit points, but I'm not going to make anything. I just wanted to show you where that was. Then over here, you're going to see there's an anvil, and we get this screen for strengthening armaments. At a smithing table, you can spend runes and smithing stones to strengthen your armaments. Somewhere in the lands between, you may meet a blacksmith who can make your armaments even stronger. So right now, we're kind of capped on how strong we can make our stuff. But if we meet a professional blacksmith, then we can really, really go to town and leveling up our items. Now, they give us, you can see there's a white item right here, and we can pick it up, and it's a smithing stone. Smithing stones are the items that you use to level up your armaments, and the strength of them is shown in the square brackets. And there are different kinds, somber smithing stones, etc. And as you level up your item, it will require more powerful stones to do so. So let's say I wanted to use the smithing table, for example, to strengthen my weapon. It says here you can spend runes and smithing stones to strengthen your armaments. Currently, we can strengthen armaments up to +3 at the smithing table until we get access to a blacksmith. Now, if I want to raise my broadsword's level, all right, I need 2 smithing stones. Same thing for my seal and for my shield. So I have 1, but I need more. Now, it shows you over on the right what will be enhanced in blue. So in Elden Ring, blue means something is augmented, being increased. Red means something is going down. White means it's staying the same. And you could see here, if I go to broadsword +1, then it's going to do more physical damage. The attribute scaling of strength stays the same. If I make my seal stronger, my finger seal, incant scaling goes up. And that's all that really changes. So this would make our heal slightly more powerful. And if I go to my shield, then I make it actually do more physical damage if I want to hit people with it. But it doesn't really change much else about it at the moment. But nevertheless, I can't improve anything because I don't have the smithing stones. And then below the item, it does tell you it also costs a certain amount of runes to level it up. Now, it's important to note that you do always want to be leveling up your equipment if possible, because leveling yourself up is amazing and necessary, but leveling your equipment is going to make you more powerful in the long run and gives you the biggest boost as you get further in the game. So you have to definitely be upgrading your gear. You can't sleep on that. If you ever wonder why you're struggling so much, it's not necessarily about raising your character's levels, although that of course helps, but it's about strengthening your armaments and finding better armaments. Oh, we got something right over here, which is a Erdleaf flower. It's a new item. I'm going to pick that up. Now you see all these sheep walking around here. You can target these by pushing R3 and kill them if you want to get some crafting stuff. I am not going to be doing that at the moment. I'm going to follow the guidance. Now, you notice that I have nothing in my second right-hand slot. I'm going to push start. I'm going to go to equipment. And from the equipment menu, this is where we equip our armaments, arrows, bolts, armor, talisman, items, etc. You can equip up to 3 armaments each to your left and right hands, and the actions each armament performs will vary based on which hand is wielding it. So you can see in my left hand, okay, so there's like rows here. The top row is my right hand, the 3 here are melee, and then we have some ranged items. Then the second row here is our left hand. The first 3 are, for what we're holding in the left hand, like a ranged weapon or a shield, or our seal, for example. You can also dual wield weapons. And then you have some more ranged equipment or throwing items. Then you have your body stuff, you have your trinket slot, and then you have just your items in general, consumable items. All we have down here in these bottom 10 slots are our flasks. I'm going to go up to the slot that's right next to our broadsword that's empty, push X on it, and I'm going to go down to the torch and push X on it. You will see in the upper left of that, there's a kind of shield with 2 crossed swords on it, meaning you have it now equipped. And it's equipped to right-hand armament 2. If I push circle and go back, you can see it is right-hand armament 2. In the upper left, it tells you armament 1, 2, etc., like what you have on your chest, head, arms. And then in the middle, you can see the stats it's giving you. You can push square to remove the item if you want, put it back on here, and you can push triangle to change the view over here on the right. And if you push R3, you just get this real simple view that doesn't show any statistical information at all about your equipment. These items you don't look at from this screen in the same way that you do by pushing square. Square just removes them. But on the right, you can see even more detailed information about what it's giving you statistically, and you could switch it with triangle. Now, we'll go more deeply into the stats and stuff later, but for now, I just wanted to show you how to equip our torch. And then if I push right on the directional pad, I switch from my sword to this torch, and I have a very, very nice light source. You can even fight with this and set enemies on fire if you wish, but I don't want to do that at the moment. I'm going to go back to my sword, and I'm just going to run around, and oop, there is a mushroom here. I'm just picking things up. So you can see that there is a little bit of a fence that's dilapidated here on the road. And there is a guy who is walking, patrolling the road, holding a shield, wearing a tabard affiliated with somebody's house, and who has a torch. Now, I'm just going to walk up, and say hi to this guy. He's going to draw his sword. I'm going to just give him the business. This is going to be one of the go-tos for us, which is, you could see he was winding up for like a massive attack right there. But our shield that we start with as a Confessor is strong enough to absorb all of that damage. We have plenty of stamina, so that wasn't an issue, and then we could guard counter and just trash that guy. 2 hits, just like the previous boss. Now, that's one way to fight that guy, but the beauty of Elden Ring is you could do this however you want. I mean, do you want to fight like this? It's raining. My God. Or, do you want to just kind of say, alright, like, I see a guy's torch over here. He's, bending down. I'm just going to jump and give him that. And just slash him. These enemies are so easy that you can see that our slash staggers them. Enemies have something called poise, and you have it as well. And if your poise is broken, it's an invisible bar, you can't see it on the enemies. If you break their poise, then they will get staggered, and you can kind of like stun lock them in effect. So this guy, for example, he wants to fight. I attacked him too quickly to do my special move. But let's see if we can break this guy's poise so I can show you what I'm talking about. So you see how, like, I'm just hitting him with light attacks? And for the first few attacks, he couldn't attack back because I was stymieing him with my sword. It was affecting his poise. But then he was able to hit us back and kind of stagger us. And then we did a guard counter to annihilate him. Now we could drink our flask of Crimson Tears, or we could just use a nice urgent heal by switching to our finger seal and pushing L1 to use our incantation. I'm going to push left on the directional pad to switch back to my shield. You can see my FP is down, but my health is full. And here's a glowing skull like I was talking to you about before. And there's different ways to break these. Sometimes you can just somersault through them as an easy way, and why, there's a golden rune level 1 right there. So occasionally enemies will drop more than just runes, and they will glow like this guy, and they will give us something. It's a random pack what we'll get. Right here we got some bolts, which isn't bad, but it's not great. It's just like, okay, fine. Now, I'm going to show you something over here, which is that you'll notice there's a little tripod and a fire and the entrance to a cave. And there is a site of grace down here. This is the Groveside Cave. You can see there is a fantastic multiplayer icon here, and I'm going to go ahead and touch the grace. Ah. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to rest here, because if I did, then these enemies would all respawn. And I'm actually not going to explore further in this at the moment. Now, we did buy a torch, and one of the reasons I did was so we could go in here. But this cave is not necessary at the moment, and there's some challenging things in there, but not too bad. It's more that I just want to take us somewhere else first. So I just want to pick up that. If I go to the map, you can see we can now teleport to this Groveside Cave, and there's actually a cave icon that's kind of hiding underneath the Site of Grace, and there is a church icon that's hiding underneath this Site of Grace, and then there's like another little cave icon over there. So you start to see what the different icons on the map mean. And I'm going to run us over here. And we got some root resin. That's a new item. And if I look at the map and I just follow this line, the Site of Grace is having us kind of go in this, or the Guidance of Grace is going in this direction. And I'm going to just follow that. And as I come over the crest of this ridge, you will see that there is a little ruined town here that is guarded by several militia members. And we will be fighting these fools very soon. But for now, you can see right in front of me, down by the road underneath, or at the foothill of that massive, massive gateway, is a Site of Grace. And that's where I want to go. That's where the guidance is telling us to go. And I want to take us there for a very particular reason that you will see. Once we touch this Site of Grace and discover it, if we rest here, now that we have discovered this many Sites of Grace, the game is kind of like ticking Sites of Grace and locations, and once we've gotten a certain amount of grace and we've got to this is the one, you come to this Site of Grace. If we rest here, something happens. We go to a cutscene. And we are visited by the kind lady we met before.
Traveler from beyond the fog. I am Melina.
Hi, Melina.
I offer you an accord.
I'm interested.
Have you heard of the Finger Maidens?
Not really. A little bit.
They serve the Two Fingers, offering guidance and aid to the tarnished.
Okay, good. I need that.
But you, I am afraid, are maidenless.
Yes, true.
I can play the role of maiden.
This is fantastic.
Turning runes into strength to aid you in your search for the Elden Ring. You need only take me with you to the foot of the Erd Tree.
Okay, I was going there anyway, so you should accept this.
Then it's settled.
It's settled.
Summon me by grace to turn runes into strength. Ah, another matter. I bequeath to you this ring.
Oh my goodness, the spectral steed whistle.
Use it to traverse great distances. It will summon a spectral steed named Torrent.
Awesome.
Torrent has chosen you. Treat him with respect.
I shall. Okay, so now, by coming and resting at this Site of Grace, we have unlocked 2 major game components, leveling up with runes and the Mount Torrent. So, I could go to level up, for example.
Your runes to strength?
Yes, please.
Let my hand rest upon you. For but a moment, share them with me.
So with the level up
Your
menu,
thoughts, your ambitions, the principles you would follow.
you can spend runes to increase your attributes. Now, every time you do this, your level rises by 1, but it will increase the cost of your next level up. So right now, in the upper left, you see I'm level 10. So because I'm already 10th level, when you pick one of the starting character bases that's not the Wretch, you start at a higher level. It's expensive for us to level up relatively to what we have. I currently have 370 runes, as you see in the upper left, and I need 829, that red number, to level up. If I did have enough, I could boost any of the stats that you see under the attribute points here. And the game will tell you the benefit you get from doing that. But right now I don't have enough runes, so I'm just going to push circle and go back. I always do this just to kind of get a feel for how many I need to actually level up. And I'm not going to really do anything else right here. I'm just going to push circle to close this. And she's disappeared. So now we need to get our mount. So we can use the Spectral Steed Whistle to summon and ride our steed. If the steed dies, we can summon it again, but it'll cost 1 flask of Crimson Tears to do so. We don't want that to happen, so let's keep Torrent alive. And we can dismount or use the whistle again by pressing, and you can bind this to a key. But here's what I will do. You can use your pouch to make life easy, and the game tells you about that. You have a pouch in your menu, and you can equip 6 items to the pouch. 4 of them can be used without opening the main menu. By holding triangle and pushing up, down, left, or right on the directional pad, you use those pouch items. So what we're going to immediately do is push start, and you see on the right of the pause menu is the pouch. And I can move the directional pad over here. I have a Memory of Grace equipped right here. I do not want this. I do not want to lose all my runes and return to the last site of Grace visited. No. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to push square to remove it. And instead, I'm going to push switch, which is triangle, and then I'm going to go to my Spectral Steed Whistle right here, and I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to push circle to go back to show you that it's right there. And if I now close this all up and I hold triangle, you can see it in the bottom left, when you're holding triangle, like we did earlier when we were switching from one to two-handed, your directional pad icons change to your pouch items, and if I push up, I whistle for Torrent, our Spectral Steed. The steed is amazing for a variety of reasons. Number 1, it is fast. You can get around very fast. You can sprint on Torrent by holding circle, using no stamina, and running like a fool. But perhaps most crucially, you can jump with Torrent, and you can double jump with Torrent. So you can jump and jump again. This will let you get higher up to new places. And you can fight on horseback. And you do good damage on horseback. And you can, use your speed and agility on the horse to your advantage if you like that fighting style. You can even shoot spells when you're riding a horse, but just make sure that when you are firing spells, even if you're locked onto the enemy, you have to face them to actually hit with your spell, because it goes in the direction you're facing, not necessarily like you can't just cast spells behind you, for example. So just pay attention to that, but we're in a spot where now we can level up, and we have Torrent, the amazing mount. This is a beautiful place to end this second episode of our beginner's guide, because we've made such great progress. We have tons to still get into, and I hope you are enjoying and finding this series to be useful. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Take care.